Let's create something in, now notice, in Adobe Illustrator, as soon as I click with my type, I get this lorem ipsum, which is the beginning of a Latin set of text that's been used for a long time as placeholder text. And it's a way that you can say, okay, if I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that here, let me deselect it, and I'm going to come over here and do something else now. It's nagging you saying, look, you got a text box here, a text object you created. If you selected this thing and it didn't, it only gave you this, the insertion point, and then you forgot about it later, that's a stray point. You can get in the way later. And so that's why when you create something with text, it'll come up like that. This is called point type. And notice, because when you select it, there's just a single point, and that's not a path. Okay, what that represents is the baseline of the type. Now, with the type tool, I can press and drag and form a rectangular area. It's kind of like a marqueing out an area. What I'm actually doing is creating a box or a frame. And of course, boom, it fills it with this placeholder text. So you can see this is a little bit differently. This is point type. I call it point type. It's made with the type tool. This I call this area type, made with the type tool. And if I had, let's say, a path that I wanted to put type on, okay, now there's a path, that's black filled. Doesn't matter what it's filled and what it's stroked. Once I apply type to it, all the formatting gets stripped away. So I'm still here in the type tool. And I'm going to come over here and click on that one, and boom, wherever I click, there's the type. Notice how it's stripped away the formatting. So I created the three kinds of type you can create. A single object straight line of type, area type that fits within an area, and that area is designated by this frame. That's like a path. Because what I can do is, well, let me get to it later. Same thing here. This is a path. You can still see the path. It's not showing up. If I wanted to show it up, then I got to go back in and select the path with my direct select tool, so it's only applying to the path and not to the type. Over here, if I want to just put a frame around this one, if I click on the type, notice all of the baselines are showing. So what I want to do is just click on the path or the box around it. I call this the container because it's containing all the keystrokes. The keystrokes, that's the content. In an object-oriented environment, you got something that's the object, and then it holds contents. It can be photo or keystrokes. Because they're two separate things, you can select them separately. And that's what the direct select tool is for. So if I directly select just that box, and I can then color it. Whoops, I made a mistake. I accidentally clicked on the text and colored it. Let me undo that one. And I make sure I just select the outline. No baselines are showing. That means the type's not selected. And when I click on it, whoop, I filled that area. Why? Because the fill is in the foreground. Okay? You always affect what you select. Easy to recover from. So there you go. You can clearly see here the container, the path, the curve, and the content, the words on that path. You can clearly see here the box, which is the container, and the content of the keystrokes that's within it. If I want to just color some of the type, I can select it within there, and there it is. Three kinds of type. You'll find some similar things you can do here in Photoshop. Okay, I'm in Illustrator, and you can see here, I'm going to zoom in on this one. How do we control this type? This little box here reflects where the type begins. It doesn't begin at the beginning of the line, it begins right here, and it ends right here. Now, if I put more type on it now, you can see, originally, the program automatically put and stopped it at the end when it put the placeholder text. But if I add some additional content in there that won't fit on there, this little box says, hey, there's more text here and it's spilling over. If I want to see that, okay, then just select my type and move this thing down like that. Okay, and now you can see how it fits in here. This is the center between these 2 points. Now the type is not centered between that because it is aligned left. Okay, let's go take a look at the text box here in Illustrator. Called type, Command T to get to it. Okay, so Command T turns it off, Command T turns it on. So here it is down here. It's kind of hiding, right? And then here's my paragraph. I'm going to put them together. We're going to be using these 2 different kinds of formatting. Paragraph formatting, as you can see here, applies to the entire paragraph. Paragraph is all of the keystrokes up to a return key. So between 2 return keys is a paragraph. And if you format any part of that paragraph with a paragraph formatting, it all behaves the same way. For example, like, how is it aligned? Well, here you can see it's aligned by default right. Here it's aligned centered. Here it's aligned right. Okay? So the question he asked here was, how do you get it on the other side? Well, you take this and you drag it over here. It just goes over to the other side. Goes over to the dark side. Now the question is, I don't want it sitting right down on that line. I want it pushed away from the line a little bit. Well, let me select all of these characters. It's not a paragraph format. So in other words, I can be anywhere in this paragraph here, and when I use paragraph, the whole thing changes because it's a paragraph format. But if I got to use a character formatting called baseline shift to get it to work. And because it's character format, it only works for what you have selected, all the characters selected. So if I adjust this now, you can see just those characters are going and they're shifting away from the baseline. And if I were to do it the opposite way, well, let me not select the whole thing. If I were doing it the opposite way, then I could shift it the other way. Okay. If I want the entire thing to change, then I got to select all of the characters. Okay. So quadruple click and it does the whole paragraph, and then I can have it offset like that. Now, why do it if you're not going to see the line? But if you're going to stroke the line, it works pretty good. And yeah, back to the question you had asked prior to this, you reverse it to the other side, and it's baseline shift the same distance. And notice right now it's aligned the other way because it's left aligned. Okay? So you understand the basic alignment. Left, right, centered. There's another one called force justified. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press and drag, and I'm going to type in here a headline. Headline goes here. Oh, by the way, why is it way up there? Because it's still down here on a baseline shift of 9. That was the last thing I did. Every time I change something, I'm changing the default in the program. So I'm going to bring that back to 0, okay? Highlight all this stuff here, go back to 0, and see now it's not baseline shifting. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, okay? So here I got a headline. Command Shift greater than symbol. That's how you do that on the fly. And you can see now the container is wider than the headline and the contents. It's aligned because it's, I just have to have my cursor somewhere on that line to select the paragraph. Go back to paragraph, center it, align left. Here we have one called justify with the last line of the paragraph left. Here's justify, the last line of the paragraph centered. Since it's only one line, it behaves the same way. Here we have justify all lines. Boom. This is called forced justification. It takes all the leftover space here and divides it up equally between the words. Looks kind of ugly, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, let's get rid of this. That's a space bar. Let's get rid of that space bar. Now I got two words. Headline goes, and here takes all the leftover space, puts it between the two words. Let's get rid of that space bar. Now I have one word called, and its headline goes here. And all the extra space is equally put between the letters. But I can't separate the words. So what I want to do is insert right here a space to separate the words, but without it being considered a space to force justify. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do is go into the type menu, and I want to insert white space character. In fact, let's see, where do we want here? I'm going to insert an end space. No, I don't want that one. Come on. Where is this one that I want? You know, maybe I can't do that in this application. I'm thinking of InDesign. Let me mess around here with one of my my modifier keys. Okay, I'm going to hit Command space. That does the search. I'm going to go Option space. That puts in a fixed amount and squishes it over. I'm going to put a Control space. Does nothing. Shift space. Same thing. Shift Command space. Option Command space. Option. So I tried. There's not a quick key because sometimes these quick keys don't show up here in the menus. So anyway, I'm not able to do that here. Let me see. No fractional widths. No. Okay, so you'd have to put something there that's not a character to space it out. Okay, so that's formatting that I apply to the type. Now there's some other kinds of formatting that you want to do that, like what we call runaround type. Okay, I got an object here. Okay, photo, shape, whatever, and I want the type to go around that. My mind is still from a demonstration I made to my class last night in InDesign. It's just a little bit different here. So let me gather my wits about this. It's called text wrap. So if I type in text wrap, there it is. I was looking under object. There it is. Make text wrap. Okay, a little bit different than in design. So what do I apply the text wrap to? I'm applying it to the object that I want the type to run around. I'm not applying it to the text. It's not text formatting. It's a technique that pushes away any type that overlaps. So that means as I move this thing around, the type automatically adjusts. Okay, there's some more we could do with the type itself, but I want to talk about some basic rules of applying type to an object. Okay, an object, either an open-ended path, a curve, or a shape. You can fill it or you can stroke it with type, but you can't do both. You can only apply one kind of type to a single path. So let me clear out my screen here, and let's say we've got a project here. We want to make a little emblem or some sort of a graphic device that's circular but has type going around it. So I'm going to make, this is going to be kind of like my badge or my, I don't know, I want to put type around this one. Well, then also I want to show you here that I want to also put type on a path here. When you use the type tool, it looks like this. There's your cursor. When you use the type on a path tool, it looks like this. And when you use an area type tool, it looks, come on, it looks like this. They're different cursors, right? Okay, so pay attention to the cursor. When I go over an open-ended path, it says, hey, it's not a shape, so let's put it along the path. If I put it over a shape, it goes, hey, it's a shape, so fill it with type. See how that changes? And I showed you that previously. But suppose you want to put type on a path that's a shape. You can't use the type tool. That's why they have type on a path tool, to force it on any path. Okay? And again, I can put it on the inside. I can move it around and orient it differently. Round and around they go. Will they stop? Nobody goes. Let's see. We'll see if we get 100%. Oh, no. Thinking of Price is Right wheel. So anyway, suppose you wanted to say, I want to put type around here, and then I also want to fill it with type. How do you do that? Well, let me use the area type tool, right? There it is, okay? Click. No, that just highlights the, okay, so let me do it again. I'm going to click on the middle. There it is, area type tool. Boom. Foiled again. I can't click on a non-compound, I have to click on it. So if it's a compound or a masking path, I can't do that. We'll learn about those later. To create text inside a path. Well, it's not telling you what it really means here, which is you can't apply text type. You can't apply fill type, area type to a path that already has path type on it. Because when you put path type on it, it's a compound path. Type deals with compound elements. So what am I going to have to do? How am I going to do this one? Think like we've been thinking in Illustrator. You just select the path with your direct select tool. Copy it and paste it. There it is. I just pasted the path, right? Only this time, Let me undo it. I'm going to select this one, just the path, copy it. Now, now if I paste it, can you see what I copied this time? I copied the content as well. I need to select this thing, so all I see is not those little brackets and handles and squares that control the type, but just the handles and the anchor points that control the path. Then I know I've just directly selected that one. Okay? Copy and paste it. Only this time, I'm going to paste it right in front. So now, when I click on the inside here, I'm trying to get back to where. Okay, so now the type is inside there, that path, and I can adjust it, whatever, and move it over in here. And or if I say, look, I create some more placeholder text, it'll fill it up, okay, so we can deal with it. Now I have type inside a shape and type going around the shape. It looks like it's in the same object, but it's not. It's two different objects. Now, another way we can control type in Illustrator is not only can we get it pushed away from something else and wrap around it, but we can get the container that it's in to push it in, to inset it. And so what I'm going to do here is select the object and where is this at? Text wrap options. Invert the wrap. Oh, it's not working. I'm going to move on here pretty soon because I'm getting a little sidetracked. Anyway, so you can see you can do a lot more in Illustrator than you can in Photoshop, working with the type. One last thing that you need to know and understand, and that is something you can do here, but difficult to do in Photoshop, and that is create outline type. Let's say I have some letter forms here. And you can see that's type. I am going to make sure that it's really bold type, okay? So I'm going to pick something really bold here, okay? But it's type. I want to convert it into paths. So once it's selected, I go under my type menu and it says create outlines. It takes this information from the font, because that's how the system's able to draw those letter forms, is because of the information that's in the font. They're laser images. So it extracts that information. It's no longer type. You can't change the character or the style. You only the appearance of that as you manipulate it as a graphic. Yes, you can still, you can change the color here and all that. But when I convert it to outline, and we'll get a little bit later to this, it is a compound path. Okay, and we'll get that a little bit later, and how we can use type to control masking and stuff like that. But the advantage is that I can adjust my type. I can change it because now it's no longer a character. It's shapes. So you can create your own little logo type for you know, a logo, the type for it that's unique by starting out with a typeface that's already been designed and then adjusting a few things here and there.